Hey there, Farmwife fam. How are we doing today? I'm fantastic. I'm so excited. It's Thanksgiving time. And I am in the kitchen and we're going to get some meal prepping done. You can do a little bit each day. It'll save so much time and effort later. So on the big day, you can focus on being with family and friends. Today, I thought maybe while we did some chopping and cutting, we could do some visiting and spend some time together in the kitchen. I've got a couple packages of celery. I'm going to use one for the stuffing, and the other one I think I'm going to have ready just to have some sliced celery for maybe some sort of an appetizer or just for snacking. So let's go over to the sink and let's wash these. I try to wash each stalk really well. Nice cold water. Never grown celery myself. I think one year I bought the seeds, but I don't know that I ever did anything with it. I didn't know whether or not I can grow it in this area, but I don't think it's something that can't be grown here. So if you grow your own celery, I think it's something I'd like to maybe try someday. I hear that if I would cut off the bottom, that I could restart my own celery. I always lost patience trying that. I've tried freeze drying celery before, but if I have leftovers, I think I will just use it frozen. I didn't really like the texture I got afterwards, and I've also had a friend tell me that she's purchased it from stores before, you know, in the can from the other companies that freeze dry, and she wasn't real impressed with it either. So I think it's just maybe something that happens to celery in the process of the freeze drying. I've also tried dehydrating it. I wasn't happy with that either. However, frozen celery works really great in soups and stews and casseroles. And celery, amazingly, will stay pretty fresh in the refrigerator, especially if you put it in with cold water. We've got our celery washed, and I've got it sitting here on a clean towel to kind of dry a bit. And we'll start prepping it here in a bit. Next, I want to go ahead and move to some bread. For stuffing, so if you've been a follower of my channel, you probably saw my little sourdough experiment where I took some old sourdough starter and then I revived it and then I baked with it, and I kind of had an oopsie moment where I overproofed or over fermented my sourdough, but the bread itself was beautiful. I mean, look at the air pockets, look at the texture, and oh, the smell is divine. It's a sour sourdough, but I decided instead of us making sandwiches out of it, I would save this and use it at Thanksgiving time so that our stuffing would have a little bit more depth and a little bit more flavor to it. So it's been in the freezer. I brought it out this morning, and now I'm just going to cube it up. And if I decide that I do not want to use all of it for stuffing, I think it would make amazing croutons. So that's why I'm not tearing it. I'm actually going to cut it today. Either way works perfectly fine. You want the bread nice and dry, so doing this in advance really helps. But if you don't have time or don't want to let it sit out on the, I'll let it sit out on the counter, then you can actually put this in your food dehydrator, or if you don't have one of those, you could put it in the oven at a low temp like you were dehydrating. Now, if you made your own homemade bread specifically for this, You could season it however you wanted. I was thinking maybe some onion bread or some rosemary bread or something like that would be really good. But you could actually season this now with your poultry seasoning or whatever you want to use in your stuffing. Or if you want to turn these into croutons, you would just take some butter and coat them and fry them in a cast iron skillet, or you could put them in the oven. So we have one loaf here. I'm going to grab another pan. Once it gets good and dry, I may take the turkey or chicken broth and let it soak. I have homemade turkey broth from a turkey that I had cooked this earlier this year, and I have it canned, and that's what I'll be using. I will be saving the drippings to make the gravy. These air dry for the next couple of days because it's kind of dry anyway. I had let it sit out a good day or two before I had decided what I wanted to do with this bread. And I decided last minute, I thought, well, I'm going to turn this into Thanksgiving stuffing. Is it your year to host Thanksgiving this year? How do you make your stuffing? I would love to hear some tips and tricks from all of you. Mine is pretty basic. Bread pieces, and onion, and celery, and plenty of poultry seasoning. You don't really necessarily need to add the salt when you do that. Maybe just a little bit. I'll probably add maybe a little garlic salt. That's about it. And what my mama always did is she would soak the stuffing. We have a wet stuffing. I know some people like a more dry stuffing. How does your family do it? We all do as this dries, every few hours, as I'm, after I get done chopping all the vegetables today, I'll get to pick up the house. And so when I walk by and do things, I might, give this a quick little stir to make sure that everything gets nice and dry evenly. This is just the old-fashioned way of doing it. Bread's done, it's up here, and I think I'm going to start working on the celery. And I'm going to kind of pick through, since I've got 2 bags, and I'm going to try to find the prettiest ones I have. And we're going to cut off the tops and bottoms. And then from there, I'm just going to, cut them into pieces. I'm going to put them in. This is supposed to help keep veggies fresh. And the reason I'm doing this is because, when you make a veggie tray, you want the prettier looking ones out on the tray. And when you're cooking, it doesn't necessarily have to be the perfect ones. See, I've got a pile here. I'm going to save all the tops and bottoms, and we're going to put them in this zippy bag, because after Thanksgiving, when we have the turkey carcass, I want to save it, and I'm going to make stock. Now see right here, there's kind of a spot in there. I could take that, and I could use it, but I'm just going to kind of put off that bad spot, and then I can save this and put this in my scraps. So I've got a fair amount here. I'm going to go ahead and start now chopping my pieces. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab this tool right here for that. And I think I'm going to put it on a 2. I don't like a super thick celery when I cook. So let's see here. Ooh, I think I could go all the way to a 3 actually. And as long as you have fresh celery, I tend to use this as the handle. That's not really the safe way to do this. I can use this in my potatoes if I want. I can use this in the salad if I want. I can use it for a casserole for leftovers. Sometimes I like to make turkey pot pie. So I like to have cut up celery and onions and things like that in the refrigerator, peppers and such. It's do what I say, not what I do. Just be careful if you do this and watch your fingers, because the last thing you want to do is injure yourself while you're making your Thanksgiving dinner. Trust me, I have ended up in the ER the day of Thanksgiving because I've done some sort of something to myself, trying to rush and get things done. If I have a gadget in my kitchen that will save me time, I'm going to use it. I love kitchen gadgets, just like my husband loves tools for his shop. A quick little tip. If you know, I've got my bag here. I happen to have the ones that have a flat bottom. That's really helpful. And then you can actually roll down your bag and have it handy to put your scraps in. We ended up with a full container of celery. We ended up with a pretty good sized container for, you know, just celery for snacking. Probably put out, you know, this along with some carrots, and maybe we're going to have a cheese tray, so maybe I'll go ahead and put out some pickles. And hey, that reminds me, I need to grab pickles and put those in the refrigerator. I have this big container that I got from Sam's of dill pickles for those who like those. And then for something sweet and different, I'll also be putting in some of my cinnamon cucumber pickles. I have a video on this that you can watch. Let's put all this stuff in the refrigerator now. We are here at the last of what I'm going to get prepped for today, and that is the onions. You've seen me use this thing before. I really do enjoy it. It is such a time saver. I have on a big square. I'm gonna lock that lid on. I'm gonna start going through my onions. You can see they're kind of starting to sprout. They're ones that I've had for a bit. We're gonna have to kind of pick through these. Some of them may have bad spots. I have to cut in half. I'm gonna take that outer piece off. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. So we've got our scrap bag here, and I'm going to put those pieces we're going to put those in our scrap bag. I'm also going to pull out that middle bit where it was starting to grow up in there, and we're going to throw that in there, and that's going to be perfectly fine to use with our stock. And what's left, I'm just going to go ahead and stick. I'm going to stick right in here. And we're just going to chop these up. I just love how perfect it makes it. So I'm going to dig out all the ones that have started to sprout, and we're going to get those used up first. Those that are really loose and look like they might have a little dirt on them, I don't save those. I know a lot of people will, but I'm kind of weirded out by it. If it looks dirty, it's not going to go into my broth. Also take that first layer of onion that's kind of like not dry, but yet it's not ready. And you know, you cut your onion about that thick. My dad would say, yay thick. And that is so much easier than having to chop, chop, chop. So we'll just kind of keep picking through and try not to waste food if we can get away from it. Prices are so expensive anymore. I mean, they always are, and we've heard our parents and grandparents say that, but here we are. We're experiencing it now in a whole new way. So I've always been a no-waste kitchen. That's just kind of who I am. So if I can't use it in my kitchen, I'll try to give it to the animals. Something like onions. Most animals don't eat onions. So those kind of things I tend to, you know, use for broth and things like that. Although my chickens would love celery or carrots. And then you can give them potato skins if you boil them first. Did you know that? Let's see, I think that's 3 onions. I think I'd like to do maybe one more onion. These onion skins, they don't look dirty to me. So I wouldn't mind putting those in here for my stock. Peel that off and into the bag it goes. Woo, these are strong onions. I think I needed some goggles today. When I use onions so much, it is not gonna hurt to have a week or two's worth of onions chopped up and ready to go. Having stuff like that in your refrigerator really does make mealtime a little easier, and it's something that I'm not very good about doing. Everything dirty, let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and get stuff prepped because my family loves onions. How about you? I think almost everything we cook around here has onions, garlic, salt, pepper, and we love parsley. It up with 5 small to medium-sized onions. That's going to be great. I can make several recipes with this. So off to the fridge this is going to go. And while I was in the fridge, I found I had bought these beautiful peppers, and I think since I am prepping, I'm going to go ahead and prep them because they're starting to show a little bit of spots. I may have bought them that way. I only bought them maybe 2 days ago. I'm going to rinse these off, and I'm going to rinse all this off, and I'll be back. So I kind of did a new thought process. I've got my bag here. I think since I'm going to be saving anyway, I'm going to go ahead and save the pepper pieces. And I've got some different size containers here. And I think I'm going to do some different ways of prepping the peppers. I think I'm going to go ahead and we'll just slice off the top here. And see, can you see? I'm going to bring you in this way. And I don't want to waste any of this pepper. So I'm going to take this and just kind of cut around the core. I'm going to put it in my bag. And I'm going to put these aside for now. I'm going to pull out these peppers and the pith, the white part. We don't need it. And I'm going to cut this one because it was nice and long. And we're going to cut it just into slices. So if I decide we like to put slices on top of like our meatloaf. And if I want to make fajitas or something. And then when I go to use them, I decide I don't want slices, then I can easily cut them into little squares. I've got this container here. I'm going to use that whole pepper. I have some container here of pepper slices. All right, that's great. And do the same thing. I'm going to cut the top off here. Pull out those seeds. Oh, looky there, friends. There's a tiny pepper inside the big pepper. How funny is that? That happens sometimes. Again, I don't want to lose this part of the pepper. So we're just going to cut around it. We're going to open this up in a little bit and see what that's all about. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to start with strips again. Cut out any of these brown spots. We don't want that. I'm going to take these strips and And then I'm gonna end up having diced peppers. And I could have used the machine we used a little bit ago, but because we're just doing the one pepper, I think this will be perfectly fine. This is gonna be great for all sorts of recipes and casseroles and maybe even like some omelets. I want these to be the smaller pepper pieces. A small dice. Would be good for like my 7-layer salad. Again, we'll cut off this top. You guys, there's another one with a baby pepper in it. How funny. If I don't get these used this week, I can put these in the freezer. I think I'm gonna go ahead and dice up this entire second pepper this way. These would be nice to put on a veggie tray too if I left some more slices. And now we are left with all these tops. Look at all this pepper that would have been wasted. And I'm just gonna put these into bigger chunks. For our family, we really enjoy this size for like goulash. It's one of my husband's favorite dishes is goulash. He would probably even eat peppers this big in his chili. Or on top pizza. What might have otherwise been wasted, we repurposed. So let me get a different size dish for that. These will fit right in here. And then we have got to check out these little baby peppers. Isn't that interesting? There's really no seeds in there. So I'm just going to throw those in with the pepper chunks. Partially formed pepper. So now I have some peppers to put in the fridge. Now I'll just put this in the freezer till I'm ready to make some turkey bone broth. Time to get out those pie crusts. And into the refrigerator they go to thaw out. Tomorrow we'll start making pies. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming along with me this afternoon as I did some meal prepping for both Thanksgiving and leftovers and whatever I find in the future to use these items for. Till next time, friends. Bye for now.